Lee Sang-jin. In the Western world, I would be known as Sang-jin Lee, but in Korea, my family name comes first, and it is most important to me. It says to me and to others that my family is directly descended from the ancient kings of the Yi dynasty. There are only about 200 family names in my country, so millions of families named Lee, but not all related to mine. There is a book in our family which records the names of family members going back some 800 years. We attach great importance to our family and to continuing the work left by our ancestors. Traditionally, we honor our ancestors through memorial rituals. We hope to inherit the spirit displayed by those ancestors. On these occasions, we share with them our best wine and food. This sharing reminds us that the past is part of our current lives.
This memorial ritual is not taking place in one of the modernized villages. It is one of certain communities that have been preserved as cultural villages. Here, customs centuries old continue almost unchanged. Most of the villagers are of one family or clan. On these formal occasions, the chief and elders meet in traditional costume to conduct village affairs. Family clans have a long tradition. In prehistoric times, all of Korea was occupied by separate tribal clans. More than 2,000 years ago, the land was organized into three kingdoms. One, the kingdom of Silla, dominated in 668 AD, uniting the Koreans as one people for the first time. Many artifacts have survived from these earlier periods. The belt worn by a Silla monarch, gold crowns, roof tiles, and endurable objects made with clay or stone. Silla was followed by the Koryo dynasty in 918 AD. One of the artistic glories of the Koryo period was in ceramics. Koryo Celadon pottery is considered to be without peer, its unmatchable glaze almost a lost art. Koryo was followed by the Yi dynasty, which lasted until the Japanese occupation of 1910. The palaces in Seoul were the capital of the Yi kingdom for 500 years. Despite their long history as a united people, the Korean heritage is a story of cultural survival under extreme difficulties. At various times, their land has been invaded by the Chinese and Manchus, captured by the Mongols of Genghis Khan, and occupied by the Japanese. Invaders destroyed cities, temples, and artifacts. Not a single wooden temple built before the 1500s still stands. However, many, such as Bulguksa, were rebuilt on their old foundations by a people who have clung tenaciously to their own heritage and identity. It's as if Korean culture had a vivid color of its own. As colors from outside were introduced into it, they toned the Korean color, but at the same time were changed by it. So the end results were special hues that are distinctly Korean. Religion provides an example. Living on this mountainous peninsula, strongly influenced by the four seasons, their earliest beliefs were in animism or shamanism, in spirits that reside in a mountain or the sea, in animals, in the sun, or in a tree. Buddhism reached them from India by way of China. Here in the famous grotto, Sokorang, built in 751 AD, sits a Buddha carved from a 10-foot slab of granite. Originally a religion without a god, Buddhism offered formulas for personal salvation through suppression of worldly desires. But as it spread, it gathered an array of protectors, saints, and saviors who could be appealed to for a better life on earth. In Korea, Buddhism was further adapted to accommodate established beliefs. Honoring Buddha, Koreans also venerate the older spirits so they won't become jealous or angry. Confucius, the Chinese sage, was another enduring influence. In Korea, the code taught by Confucius became a system of education, family behavior, and civil administration. In schools like this one, scholars memorized Confucian teachings upon which all examinations for civil offices were based. At one period, scholarship and government were so closely entwined that each government official had to write poems and present them to the king. The emphasis upon Confucianism declined, but the legacy that education is the key to future success remains deeply ingrained. So too does the emphasis upon family relationships. This older residence was the home of a master of calligraphy or brush writing. 3 generations of a family would live in the same house. Women prepared the meals here in the cooking area and had their own section of the house. The head of the family had his private quarters for work and study. Its now quiet rooms say much about what educated Koreans valued in the way of orderliness, simplicity, and harmonious arrangements. Today's urban dweller is more likely to live in a single-family apartment, one of the changes about which Mr. Lee comments.
At the present time, my country has moved rapidly toward modernization and industrialization, toward establishing a new culture. At the same time, we wish to make it harmonious with the old. So a national effort is being made to preserve, revive, restore, and nurture our own unique cultural heritage.
Visits to museums housing these national treasures are part of the children's education. And adult Koreans visit these exhibitions by the thousands. Respect for the past is expressed in many ways. Approaches to a shrine are planned with beauty and harmony in mind, helping to create the proper, respectful mood. This shrine honors Admiral Yi Sun-shin, who, in the 1590s, developed what were probably the first ironclad ships in history and defeated an invading Japanese armada. Reconstructed in 1968, the shrine has design features that are traditionally Korean. The roof ridge that curves up at both ends, and the upward curves at the corners. Influenced by the Chinese, the Korean style, in turn, influenced Japanese architecture. Places like the Hae-in-sa Temple have a special attraction for Koreans, though they may now practice Christianity, Taoism, or some other religion. Buddhism was once the state religion, and its temples and artifacts are treasures of their past. These buildings house one of the great achievements of Korean culture, the Tripitaka Koreana, all of the basic Buddhist scriptures, preserved on more than 80,000 wooden printing blocks, each hand-carved on both sides. Begun in the year 1237 as a work of piety to secure Buddha's protection against Mongol invaders, the blocks took 16 years to complete. The texts are as reproducible today as they were 700 years ago. Printing from all the blocks will fill 6,780 volumes. Printing had an early start here. Koreans were using movable type 200 years before Gutenberg developed it in the Western world. The use of metal type spread to China and Japan from here. Koreans have a language of their own. But for centuries, their writers and scholars used difficult Chinese characters with Korean pronunciation. Then, in the 15th century, King Sejong, an enlightened monarch, commissioned the development of a phonetic Korean alphabet. This alphabet, called Hangul, made reading and writing easily available to all classes. The old Chinese system used thousands of ideographs to picture what was being said. Whereas in the early form of Hangul, Koreans had to learn only 11 vowels and 17 consonants, which could be used in various combinations the way we use the letters in our alphabet. Thus, for the sound of kan, Koreans write their equivalent of K, A, N. The three letters, when combined, make up the sound kan. Calligraphy, or brush writing, is an art form here. It is writing and a mark of scholarship, but also something beyond mere skill and technique. Mrs. Lee Cho-kyung, principal of a girls' high school, is a master calligrapher. Her artistry is considered to have reached a quality of spiritual attainment.
이리 와. 태원이 어딨니?
네.
이리 와. 네. 할머니가 지금 이거 썼는데 이거 하나는 옛날 글이고 여기 요거는 요새 글이고 그런데 요거 봐 글자 몇 개만 가르쳐 줄게. 요거 무슨 자야?
To preserve valued legacies from the past, certain treasures receive government protection. National treasure number 20, for example, is the Tabotap, an 8th century pagoda of unique and complex design. Called the Sitting Maitreya, this gilt bronze image from the ancient period of the Three Kingdoms is National Treasure number 78. Most unique to Korea are its human cultural treasures, such as the skill of Madam Kim Hui-jin. Hers is cultural treasure number 22, meaning that her skill in the ancient art of making knots with silk thread is to be preserved. Apprentices are sent to her for training in this art. The knotted threads, often supporting jade, are used as accessories in traditional costumes. Kim Pong-yong, whose skill is human cultural treasure number 10, preserves the art of manufacturing lacquerware and inlaying with mother of pearl. Between Mr. Kim and this old painting of a scholar lies an unbroken heritage. Like the old South Gate in Seoul, National Treasure #1, they are treasures that keep history from being lost in the rush of modern development. Perhaps the revered past has helped prepare Mr. Lee Sang-jin for the challenges of a new age, an age that is bringing to Korea the influence of foreign cultures. He and his fellow Koreans hope to succeed, as they have in the past, in harmonizing these new influences with their own rich heritage. Despite the hazards, if history follows its previous course, Korea will remain the land of morning calm.